Hi everyone, my name is Cassie and welcome to my channel, Bookish 4 Eyes. Today I'm answering your questions from 2 weeks ago. Thank you to everyone who chose to ask me something. I'm really excited to do this video, so let's get right to it. Question number 1 is, who's your favorite author? And that's a very tricky question to answer just because I like a lot of different authors. If I had to pick just one, I would have to say Gillian Flynn, just because she's written a few different books and so far I haven't been disappointed in any of them, so I really enjoy her writing and she would have to be definitely one of my most favorite authors. Here's the next question. So I'll just answer this first part of the question first, and that is any unpopular book opinions that you have. I don't have too many unpopular book opinions. One thing that I feel like might be pretty unpopular is I don't like the half-star ratings. So I know people like to review their books and sometimes they like to give like 3.5 stars or something like that. I personally don't like that, but it's just my personal preference because I don't know, I like to judge things harshly, I guess, and I prefer to rate my books just straight on, like, because I usually just use Goodreads for book ratings, so I just try to do like a set number of like 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, that kind of thing without breaking it up. However, I don't mind when other people do it. It's just that I cannot separate the stars. It's just too much work already for me to just figure out how many stars I want to give a book, so I think that's like the only thing that might be an unpopular opinion. Now this next question came up a lot. A couple of different people asked this one, so I'm just going to answer it all at once for everybody. And this was basically, the first book that you've read, but a book that made you fall in love with reading, and there were other kinds of questions along those lines. And if I had to pinpoint a book where I read it and I really enjoyed it and I thought I was really into reading, it would have to be The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. I read that book before I read a lot of the other books. Like, I read that book before I read the Harry Potter series. I read it before a lot of the other books, and that just set me on a path where I enjoyed adventure books and I liked kind of living vicariously through other people. Now if you hear funny noises during this video, that is the dishwasher working, so mystery solved. That's what's going on here. Next question is, do you get nervous before or while filming? I did used to get nervous when filming when I initially started my channel. It was just felt so terrifying making a video knowing that people that weren't me or like my friends or family would potentially see it, so I was just very nervous about how that would go, and I just wanted to make sure I did a good job and that I would get my point across. As the time went on, now I'm not nervous anymore, but it has been like 2 years now that I've been doing it, so now I'm just really comfortable talking to myself in front of the camera, but it definitely takes a little while to get used to and to feel more comfortable and not get nervous every time I had to film a video. Next question is, you mentioned university before. What was your discipline? So I studied history and sociology at school, not anything book related, I guess. And there's the second part of the question too. It says, what other countries have you been to? And I actually wrote all the countries down just because I didn't want to spend a while kind of thinking back and forth. So here they are. Cyprus, Malta, Italy, France, Poland, Ukraine, Austria, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Israel, Russia, and Canada. So there you have it. The next question that I got is, do you like watching other booktubers, and if so, who are your favorites? I love watching other booktubers, and that's how I initially found my way into booktube, is by watching other channels. I have a lot of channels that I really enjoy, but here are some of my favorites that I usually watch all of their videos, and usually get really good recommendations from them. I'm also going to write them down below in case you want to check them out, and you should, because I promise they're very good. So just right off the top of my head is April from Getting Hooga With It, there's Possibly Literate, there is Books and Jams, there is Jasmine's channel, Jasmine's Reads, there is Lindsay's Little Library, there's Chapter 32. There's so many good channels to watch. Another bigger one is A Book Olive. I like her ones a lot. Another big one is Chapter Stacks, great for any thriller recommendations. So that's all that I could think of on the spot, but those are all awesome channels. And if you like my channel, you like the kinds of books that I read, you will definitely enjoy those ones as well. The next question that I got is, what's your favorite movie? That's really tough because I feel like my movie tastes constantly change, and I don't like the same movies that I liked a few years back. One movie that I really enjoy and I think has stuck with me for a long time and I'm just genuinely a big fan of is the movie called Inception. And I think that movie has like blew my mind when I first saw it, and even now I'm just genuinely very, very impressed by it and I really enjoy it. As far as like feel-good movies and things, I really like Meg Ryan's movies, so I really like You've Got Mail and When Harry Met Sally. Those two I can watch forever. And actually another one that I absolutely love is Along Came Polly. So those feel-good movies I just love and I could watch them like endless amounts of times. Next person asked me 2 questions. The first part is, what are your favorite hobbies besides reading? And I've actually gotten into running, so I guess I can consider that one of my hobbies now. My husband and I did a half marathon in March and that was a lot of fun, so I don't know that I will continue on with it long term, but it's just a fun thing to do. Another thing that I've recently gotten into is knitting, and so far I'm only good at making scarves, and I will hopefully improve my knitting skills and will be able to make something other than a scarf. But those 2 things I guess are my main hobbies for now. The next part of the question is, who's your celebrity crush? And I feel like my mind tends to change as time goes on. I used to be really into Chris Hemsworth, but I feel like I've outgrown that stage in my life now, and I think my celebrity crush now is James Marsden. He's from Westworld. I feel like he fits my kind of style of tall, dark, and handsome, so he'd have to be my celebrity crush at this point. The next question is, what was the first character you can remember that you really saw yourself in or related to? And I think one of the books that I really enjoyed and made me feel like I could relate to the characters was The Hobbit, and the main character Bilbo, just because he's a very kind of calm guy, and he likes the simple things in life. He just likes to relax, and he doesn't like to leave like the comforts of his home and just staying cozy. And I feel like I'm that kind of person. I like staying in, I like being cozy, I like being comfortable, and I feel like I could relate to that. And then when he went on an adventure, it was just really cool to see someone kind of step outside of their comfort zone and to go out and explore different things. So I think that was like the first time when I came across a character who was just very laid back and very just, you know, a simple person, like very down to earth. And I kind of felt like, you know, I'm kind of like that, but I also enjoy a little adventure, I guess. Not as intense as what he had to do, but it was still a book that I felt like I could definitely relate to as far as my personality goes. And then the other part of that question is, if you were to be a character of a book, tell us a little about the book. What genre would it be? Who would you want it to be written by? Some key points of your story. Would you be an antagonist, protagonist, side character, etc.? I guess I'd like to be a character in an adventure story just because it seems like a fun time, assuming the adventure is not that dangerous, which I guess my story wouldn't be. I'd like to be the main character in it, but also maybe something along the lines like Treasure Island, with like, because there's a fun adventure there and you're looking for treasure, and that seems like a fun time. So maybe a book like Treasure Island would be less dangerous and I could be one of the people looking for the treasure or something along those lines. And who would I want it to be written by? I don't even know. Maybe my first thought was George R.R. Martin, but I know that story would be very gruesome and really dark, so I wouldn't want him to write it. I don't know who I'd want to write it. Maybe Stephen King, if it was more like a Shawshank Redemption type book and not like a It type book. because I feel like his writing is really easy to read and easy to get into. He does a pretty good job, I think. I genuinely enjoy his writing, so maybe Stephen King could write it and it would just be like kind of a lighter treasure hunt type book. I feel like that would be fun. Obviously there would be some obstacles along the way, but nothing too crazy, and it would just hopefully overall be a very feel-good book. The next question is, are there any books you changed your opinion about after some time has passed, for better or for worse? Nothing really comes to mind at the moment, but I think that's because I don't tend to... Actually, I take that back. I read Fahrenheit 451 in high school as like a assigned reading, and I genuinely enjoyed it. I really liked what the book was about, and it was just, you know, kind of intense, and I thought it was a good read and I really liked it. However, I reread it again, I think last year, or maybe 2 years ago. I think last year. I reread it and I could not get into it, and I was really struggling through that book, and it's not a very long read, so you know how surprised I was, because like from what I remembered, I genuinely liked that book, and I was, you know, I was kind of looking forward to reading it again, and once I reread it, I liked it a lot less. So that makes me nervous about some of the books that I really like but haven't read in a while. The next question is, what do you do for work? I work in tech and I do operations. And the second part of that question is also, which characters remind you of yourself? And I guess I will tie that into my previous answer with The Hobbit, how I feel like Bilbo and I are maybe a little bit similar. I don't know. The next question is, how long have you been married and how did you and your husband meet? My husband and I have been married for 2 years. It'll be 3 years in November. And we met traveling. I had a layover in Poland and Warsaw, and he had a layover there too, and we met at the airport, and we kind of just started chatting casually, and then we ended up adding each other on Facebook, and then we kept up our conversations, and then eventually he came to visit me and I came to visit him, and that's how the magic started. And we were in a long distance relationship for 2 years before I moved to America, and we got married. So there's that story. The second question is, what is your favorite perfume? Well, I feel like my perfume tastes change from time to time, but I can tell you which perfumes I'm using currently. So the main one that I'm like almost done with is Flower Bomb. And the next perfume that I'm going to start using after I run out of Flower Bomb is going to be this D&G No. 3 perfume. The next and last questions that I have are, what's next for you? What have you got planned for the next couple of years in life and in BookTube? So as far as BookTube goes, I don't really have much planned. I guess I'm just slowly but surely getting into the swing of things and finally being able to stay on top of making my videos and always having things to talk about, and kind of being able to read a good amount of books every month so that I have stuff to talk about. I don't know that I'm going to make any drastic changes as far as BookTube goes. I guess maybe review more books rather than just make other kinds of videos, just because I feel like book reviewing is something that I genuinely enjoy, and that's the reason why I got into BookTube in the first place. And as far as personal life goes, it looks like I will be moving in the near future back to Nashville, Tennessee, where my husband and I moved from a bit over 2 years ago. So that's an exciting thing that's next for us there. Apart from that, I don't really know. Thank you so much for asking all these questions. I really, really appreciate it, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.